G'day friends. Today we are talking camera settings. We're going to go through 10 different types of photography and all the settings you're going to need for those. So we're going to cover things like wildlife, landscape, portrait, sports, and then street/documentary, travel, automotive, food, products, and even astrophotography. Over the last decade or so, my photography career has seen me go from working in a green room at SeaWorld and as a nightclub photographer at night, all the way till now where I get paid by the biggest companies in the world to fly me to some pretty crazy locations because they trust me to get the goods for them. But let's dive in and just get into the settings. Okay, first up is my obvious favorite if you follow any of my work, landscape photography. So for the aperture in landscape photography, we're going to want to stick between f8 and f16. We want a really deep depth of field. Basically, we want as much of the image as sharp as possible, unless you want to dive into like focus stacking, which is more of an advanced technique, which I'd recommend learning anyway, but we can get into that later. The lens I'm going to use most of the time, the 16-35 2.8 and the 24-70 2.8. So shutter speed. This varies with landscapes. I usually go for longer exposures, typically on a tripod, because I've got time to set up these scenes, unless it's like windy or I need to catch something moving in the foreground. So the ISO will be around the 100 to 400. This is for minimal noise, which is another reason why I typically set up with a tripod, because a narrow aperture and a low ISO is meaning that I'm going to have a slightly longer exposure time. So the focus mode, I'm going to be going with single point autofocus because it's a static scene, so nothing's really moving. Otherwise, I'll go for manual in lower light where the camera may struggle to focus. Another thing to think about is to use a polarizer to adjust the amount of color in the skies or cut reflections of water or any other reflective surfaces. I also typically will use an ND filter and a polarizer if you wanted to do longer exposures. Next up is portrait photography. These settings will also lend themselves into various commercial shoots, which is where the majority of my income comes from. So for aperture, I'm going to want to stick between the f2.8 and the f5.6. I want kind of a shallow depth of field. I really want to like blur out the background. My main go-to lens is 24-70. That's just basically what I use for all my commercial stuff. Typically when shooting portraits, I'm going to be wanting at least 1/125 or faster, just to avoid motion blur of like people moving, and the ISO roughly 100-800, just kind of adjust for lighting. Focus mode, eye tracking, always. It's just so easy these days with that. And a bit of a pro tip, if you're outdoors or indoors, use a diffused kind of lighting. It's to soften the shadows and really like soften the features in the skin. Number 3, my other absolute favorite type of photography is wildlife photography. And despite this making me next to no money, I spend an obscene amount of money and an obscene amount of time standing in rivers and all sorts of things waiting for the perfect moment. It's kind of a rush shooting wildlife photography. So my settings for that, aperture is going to be between 2.8 and f8, kind of depending on the scene. 2.8 will really like isolate the subject, really blur out the background, but you've got less depth of field to work with. Whereas f8, you're going to get much more in focus, and I kind of typically use that for like a landscape shot with like a little featured animal in there, you know? Lens, sometimes I'll use the 24-70 for those landscape sort of stuff. Otherwise, a minimum of the 70-200 just to get that focal length. Obviously, the longer the better, so that you can get closer to the animals without actually getting close to the animals and disturbing the wildlife. The shutter speed will always be at least 1/250. I really want to capture that motion. I don't want to get any motion blur where the animals are moving. So then I'm going to have some high ISO settings sometimes. So for ISO, I'm going to go between 400 and 3200. Yes, 3200's a bit higher than I would like to, but it's more important to freeze the motion than to have a little bit of extra grain. And Topaz Labs has now saved me so many times with high ISO images. Anyway, focus mode. Gonna go continuous autofocus, servo, AFC, that kind of thing. You want it to follow your subject, so you can just hold it down and just hope for the best sometimes. So for the next one, I've never shot competitive sports like soccer or football, or it's the same thing in certain countries. Anyway, but action sports I have extensive experience in. I've done some crazy shit. Aperture between f4 and 7.1, you want to isolate that subject. You want whatever you're shooting is going to be the main thing in the photo, unless of course it's a massive photo of a landscape with a skier sending it. The next thing though, shutter speed, it's going to be fast. So 1/1000th of a second or faster. Like you want to freeze that motion and you want it crisp. You want that snow just super sharp. I need to go skiing. The lens will depend on the sport. If you're on the sidelines of a footy match, you're going to want a decent zoom to like really zoom in because you can't actually move, but you want a decent range. So one of those super zoom lenses would be good for that. Whereas for ski photography, I've actually found myself using the 24-105 way more. It's purely because you can zoom in, but when they actually get close to you, you can also shoot that. So you've got a focal range and then you can get a wide shot as they like whip by you. For ISO, I'm shooting between 400 and 2500. It's, again, same as wildlife. It's more important to capture clean, crisp images, and then you can deal with the ISO problems later. Focus mode, continuous autofocus. Sport mode, if it's got it, it'll track the subjects once you lock on and then just spray and pray, baby. Okay, so if you're shooting ski photography, I would slightly underexpose on sunny days and slightly overexpose on cloudy days. The camera often struggles to calculate that like 18% grey, which it balances everything out on, in the sun because the snow is so bright, or if it's all snow and kind of all that colour, it goes the opposite way. So either under or overexposed depending on the conditions. Next up, my other secret love. I seem to love all sorts of photography. Anyway, just like wildlife photography, my next one has made me this. I don't think actually this one's made me any money, but street photography. I love street photography. So aperture, I'm going to be using 5.6 to f8, just for like general sharpness if I'm shooting a scene, or if I'm shooting portraits on the street, I'm obviously going to shoot similar to like what we had in the portraits, at 2.8 to f4. Shutter speed is always going to be like 1/60th or faster. You're shooting people, so they're going to move, they're going to do things. And ISO 400 to 1600 depending on the lighting. With portraits, you don't want to get a lot of grain in people's faces because it can really throw things a lot quicker. My focus mode for street photography is zone focusing, so I'll focus on a whole zone and then let it pick for like the wider sort of scenes, or the servo with face tracking on if I'm actually like picking people out instead. While I love shooting street photography at 35mm on a prime doco style, I also will always have a 70 to 20 just tucked away so that I can stand back and just kind of watch and just like pick off little frames in the street. Enough of me reminiscing about street photography. Let's get into event photography. Now, I shot in nightclubs for a minute, between 18 and 21 at least. Like, it was fun stage of my life. If you lack confidence anyway, get a job as a nightclub or events photographer. You'll never have a problem approaching people ever again. Pays shit, but the experience is worth it. You're probably going to be in low light situations a lot of the time, so f1.8 to f4 if you can. I found a 24mm prime was perfect for it if you've got the money. Shutter speeds are going to vary. 1/100, usually a good starting point. And ISO is going to be through the roof depending on the lighting, so anywhere between 800 and 3200. I would also often use an external flash with either a diffuser pointed straight at the models or pointed up and bouncing off the roof depending on where I was. You can also shoot that like bounce flash with a lower exposure and get that kind of drunk nightclub feel. So the next one, automotive photography. Now I've actually strangely been hired a lot recently to shoot automotive photography. The aperture is going to vary between f4 and f11 because I'm going to want to keep as much of that car sharp as I possibly can. My go-to lens for that, 24-70. Anything wider will give you kind of distortions that really don't appeal to commercial use. Shutter speed, for static shooting, I'll often use a tripod and focus stack, again to try and get as much of that car perfectly sharp as possible. For rollers, where I'm like hanging outside of the car, I'm going to be shooting at usually 1/60th to 1/100th, and just spray and pray, hoping that one of them's sharp, because you're going to be bouncing around, and the idea of as a roller is to give you that sense of motion. So that's kind of where I sit with that one. Otherwise, I'm going a super fast shutter to like really freeze motion. ISO, depending on the conditions, honestly, anywhere between 100 and 1600 to 2500 maybe. For static cars, single shot always, or I'll be focus stacking. For those rolling / panning, I'm always going autofocus and just kind of holding and picking out the best shot. An additional tip as well, use a circular polarizer. It's your best friend when you're shooting cars, because you can adjust the reflections on windows and paint, really bring out those details better. It's honestly, it's a must-have if you're going to shoot any kind of cars. Just go and get one. It'll just trust me on that one. Product and food photography. It's been a minute since I did this, but we could go super in depth with this. People do some crazy things, but realistically, you want to shoot at like f4 to f11 to make sure that that depth of field is wide enough. Probably stick with a 24 to 70, just a great all-rounder, 24 to 105, same sort of thing. Because you're often shooting in controlled lighting, I kind of pick a lower kind of ISO, so 200 to 800. And focus mode will be either manual focus for precision to get exactly the things you want sharp, or single point autofocus. And an additional tip on that one, use soft light or artificial with the diffusers again. You really don't want any harsh shadows in your food or your product photography. So moving on to number 9 is a lot of what I do now. So that's travel photography. So basically, I'll go to a place, document the entire experience that someone might have while they're there, so that that could be then sold on to potential customers, potential visitors to the area. I'm going to want to stick to like a documentary kind of style, shooting at like f5.6 to f8, kind of like for general sharpness, keeping a wide depth of field for all the shots. Shutter is going to be anywhere from 160 to higher. Again, for clean images, I'm going to want to shoot with an ISO of 400 to say 1600. For focusing mode, I'm going to be going with like a zone focus on autofocus, or servo with the face tracking if I'm shooting people. Additionally, when you're shooting these kind of things, it's good to think like a documentary filmmaker. You want to shoot a wide establishing shot, kind of giving you an idea of the whole area, then a closer shot of the actual scene, okay, like what's going on, and then a medium close-up of the subjects. So like people's faces, people having fun, that kind of thing. Now, last but not least, what I spend most of my life at doing is shooting stars. Now, without deep diving into the settings and techniques, because I think I've actually made a deep dive video on that. Anyway, I'll link that at the bottom as well. So for this, I'm going to want to be shooting with a wide aperture of f2.8 or wider if I can. If you're focusing on infinity, you don't have to worry about depth of field. You just want to let in as much light as possible. I'm going to want to also think about the 500 rule, which gives you the maximum exposure you can have before the stars start moving. So the 500 rule is essentially you take 500, you divide it by the focal length that you're going to use, and that will give you a number. For example, 16 mil, it's about 30 seconds. 24 would be 20 seconds, and 50 mil is probably about 10 seconds. It's the maximum length you can leave the shutter open before the stars actually start doing star trails. Obviously, using a tripod for all of these. ISO, we're going to be going anywhere between like 800 if it's a full moon or kind of blue hour, to 8,000, even higher if your camera can handle it. Focus mode was manual focus all day. You can also zoom in. You open up your LCD and you can zoom right in on a star and then micro adjust so it is perfectly sharp. Again, just watch my video on astrophotography. It'll run through all of that. Guys, I hope you found this interesting and that you learned something that you could either use or potentially teach to a friend, share with a friend. We're going to be doing a lot of these tutorials on this channel, so if you aren't already, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next week. P.S. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Appreciate you. Peace.